Imagine a world without choices. Imagine you can't make your own decision. That wouldn't be a world for me. That wouldn't be a world for you. UIC.
Tell them we're gonna be stronger. Together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Gonna be stronger together. Time we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. It is a natural right for every human being to be free. Free, so free. So the government is there to protect you and me. UIC objective is to liberate the citizens from colonial bondage, them regulation, them taxation. Rob Jamaica, we independent. Be stronger together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. We're gonna be stronger together.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. This is Joseph Patterson, and our topic for tonight is land for the landless. More specifically, we're talking about the so-called squatter problem in Jamaica and how that problem can be resolved. But first, we want to make sure we understand the problem as best as we can. We're going to have on tonight a guest to give us his perspective on the matter. And then, of course, we're going to take questions and comments from you online. We're going to have a call-in number on the screen where you can call us and, ask your questions or share your thoughts on the matter. It's very unfortunate that we have to be having this conversation 60 years after so-called independence and 78 years after so-called self-governance. But here we are. We're having that discussion nonetheless. So welcome and good night. And I hope you will not so much end the session, but learn from it and contribute to it, add some value to the discussion. I appreciate the magnitude of the problem and what we must do to resolve it. Let me welcome my guest this evening, Mr. Lloyd D'Aguilar. Lloyd, welcome. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Joseph. Good to be on your program.
Excellent. I know you are the leader for a particular group. What's the name of that group again?
The People's Anti-Corruption Movement.
The People's Anti-Corruption Movement. And what would that have to do with the problem we're discussing here tonight, land for the landless, or the squatter problem and the government's approach to it so far? What does your organization, what you do, how does it relate to this topic?
Well, corruption is a very broad issue, and it covers almost all the problems, the social problems, political problems that exist in this country. People's Anti-Corruption Movement, we have written letters to the Prime Minister, to the leader of the opposition, to the parliamentarians, calling for people's public inquiry into corruption, and so that we can put this thing in public and we can question public officials, the Prime Minister, those, all over the political map. We can ask questions, and once it's fully understood how corruption works, then we will be able to do something about it. And just to say very briefly that either the Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition, or any member of Parliament has responded to that letter calling for a commission of inquiry into corruption. So when we go at this issue of people having land and some people don't have land, landlessness in the society, it's also about corruption, because the powers that be are able to give land to their cronies, to their friends. They're able to make deals with them so that the political parties can be funded by these individuals that they give land to. And that is a part of the political runnings in Jamaica. So that the people who need land in St. Catherine and in Clifton are not being given the land because the land is being given to the rich, and they're the ones that have the land, and then the people have to be making land, stealing land, so-called squatting on land, because they're not being given land. Now, it is said, the Prime Minister said in the Parliament a week ago, that the Cabinet has approved the sale of 1,225 acres of land by the Sugar Corporation of Jamaica Holdings, and this land is worth $4 billion, and it's being sold for mixed residential, commercial, light industrial undertakings to 7 developers, right, in the greater Bernard Lodge area. That is what he said. So you ask a question, why couldn't he have made a statement that we have 1,225 acres of land to be given to the people who are landless, because there is a very serious landlord problem. But he's saying that they're going to be selling the land to 7 developers. We don't know the deal. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We don't know what is the payment arrangement, and so on and so forth. So the
bottom line is, before you go any further, what you're telling us, let's just break it down for the people here. What you're telling us is that the government of Jamaica is running one of the largest scamming operations in this country.
Well, listen, the government owns, I saw some statistics, and it says the government owns 22% of land. I believe it's far more than that, but the government is a big, big landowner. How did the government get this land? Well, when there was independence in 1962, the Crown said, well, here is the Crown lands, and we're giving you the Crown lands, because this is the land that dates back to the land that was taken away from the Taínos, that was given to the plantation owners who brought slaves here. And then when slavery was over, they were compensated, and then the slaves were told that we can't give you no land, you must, and if you take land, we're going to use the force of the state against you, because you need the ex-slave to work on the sugar plantations, and that has itself over 100 years to where we are today.
In your understanding, is there a difference between so-called Crown land and government land?
No, there's no difference between Crown land and government land. It's just that the Crown, when it gave the Jamaican political directorate political control, it says, well, all right, here are the Crown lands that we own. So you look around you, and you look in the hills, and you look in the valleys, and so on and so forth. That land belongs to the government, belongs to the state, unless private individual has been able to acquire that land one way or another. So the government has tremendous power over all land in the area.
Is it safe to say that the government, upon so-called independence, took possession of the Crown lands, but then failed to turn over these lands where appropriate to the people of Jamaica? Is it safe to say that?
Well, that is exactly where I'm going with that, because we have had several governments since 1962, and there have been 1 or 2 land lease arrangements. I think the PNP did something in the 70s, and the JLP followed them after they took over in the 80s with land lease. But it was just a handful of people who got a handful of land as part of this land lease program. So the government either gives the land or sells the land to the rich and the powerful in the country, and the poor, the farmers, the ones whose relatives were ancestors were slaves, or were people who descended from that system, didn't have any land, and so they want to farm, they want to produce, and they don't have any land. And once they go on the land, they're called squatters, and then the government has the power to come and remove them from the land. So the government is trying to make money off the land that has been put into their hands by the crown, and the people have to be either squatting, or they're going to have to really fight for the land that belongs to them, that was stolen land in the first place. So we're not really addressing the serious inequality where land is concerned. We're not discussing that at all.
John, when we talk about land lease, we're talking about a piece of land being leased or rented to a person for a period of time, correct?
Yes.
So,
That's
land lease is not the same thing as land ownership, is it?
No, you're being leased the land.
Right. So when you lease the land to the people, you are retaining ownership. That's the government is retaining ownership and giving you temporary access to the land, never making you comfortable and feeling safe and protected to know that you are the owner of the land. So the government, even when they did land lease, it was really a form of pretending to do something good, but still retaining the power to dispossess the people at some future date. Is that not correct?
Of course, if whatever the arrangements where the lease is concerned, if you're paying $10, you're paying $1. There's a government that owns the land, controls the land, and they are ready. They can say to you, listen, the lease agreement is now up. You have to leave because we control it. And they are able to sell it to whoever they want to sell it to, because there are some people with money, some people with cash, and a lot of people who don't have any cash, and they can't buy the land. So what we are advocating is land for the landless. It's not about selling the land, it's about making the land available to whoever needs land, whoever want to farm, whoever don't have housing, and we come up with a plan where we're going to build housing here, we're going to use these lands for agricultural land, and so on. And it's rational, and it's a plan, and it's organized. But we don't have that. So what we have is the government saying that, well, some people down in Fencatch and Bernard Lodge is taking away our land and selling it, and we don't agree with that.
So hold on. So what the government is doing, the government is once again trying to hoodwink the people. They're trying to trick the people again by this time claiming, rightly or wrongly, that there are illegal persons selling government land to people and they should stop. Now, if that is the case, if there is somebody, whether they're a criminal, a gang or not, if there is somebody selling land to people illegally or fraudulently, the role of the government is to arrest the persons who are selling the land illegally and bring them to court and charge them with fraud. No, so.
Absolutely. But what they do is they go there, the people who are tricked, let us say, or scammed, and who gave them $1 million, $800,000 for the piece of land, and then go and borrow some money on their savings and start build up their structures. They are the ones that they attack. They go there and push down the people's houses and really make life terrible for them. How can you do that?
The government is being a bully. They can't solve crime. They claim that it's gangs who are selling these lands. They can't go and find the gang. They can't go and arrest the gang leaders or whoever it is. They can't go and bring those persons to court and to justice. So what they do is take the easy path of simply going and bullying the victims of the so-called fraud, right? The victims of the fraud, they're going to go and bully them. But hold on a second. Could it be, based on what we're hearing, could it be that really that's not even the case? The government is really, they have a buyer. They have a buyer in the back, somebody who they want to now give the land to, sell the land to for their developmental purpose, so-called developmental purposes, to build houses. And so they want to now get rid of these people out of the way so they can go and get the thing sold properly for their purposes. And so it's really for that, but they're using gangs and fraudulent sales as the distracting factor to then pursue their true intention of simply making the land available for their rich friends that they want the lands to go to for the purpose of getting their kickbacks. No?
You're absolutely right about that, because as I said before, the Prime Minister, when he made his statement, he said he had 1,222 acres of land, which is owned by the Sugar Company of Jamaica Holdings, and it was being sold to 7 developers. So those 7 developers, whoever they are, would be threatened by some other people coming in and selling some land or giving land, whatever it is, to other people. So they would see that as a threat. And so the Prime Minister had to, or he felt that he had to move against these people who were a threat to the 7 developers that he was selling the land to. You know, it's a simple.
So they give him an order. The 7 developers said to the Prime Minister, if you want us to give you this money for this land, you better go down there and push out them people there, so they won't be our problem. When you sell the land and we give you the billions, we won't have to go deal with these people now. You go deal with them. Bring out the army, bring out the police, and go down there and bulldoze those people and push them out. But we know you can't touch the gang leaders, them. You can't touch them. You can only touch the ordinary people. But one more thing though, SCJ, Sugar Company
Jamaica Holdings.
Jamaica, I don't know you get SCJ being, but anyways, SCJ, Sugar Company of Jamaica, which I used to work for. You know, I was an engineer back in the days at the Monimus estate. But hold on. This SCJ don't own the land. SCJ is an agency of the government, isn't it?
Well, SCJ is an agency of the government. You must remember now that when the sugar industry collapsed, right, and government either bought the sugar estates or made an agreement with the sugar estate owners to assume control, maybe to pay them some money, etc. They set up the Sugar Company of Jamaica Holdings as the holding company for this. So we're never sure what is the financial arrangements between the Sugar Holding Company of Jamaica and the former sugar landowners and so on. But we know that it's a business. It's a business that.
So right? Mix up.
It's a mix of business.
So hold on. Let's for a moment, Lloyd. Let's for a moment we say that SCJ is a private company. Okay, let's for a moment say it's a private company, and it legitimately owns these lands by some previous purchase from the government. Let's assume that for a moment. Why would the government, our government, sanction the SCJ to simply go and bulldoze the people with the protection of the army and the police instead of due process of serving a writ against these persons to say you need to come to court and defend your claim to this property, and we have the lawyers for the sugar holding company and the lawyers for those who claim they have legal right to this property, and the thing is dealt with in court as opposed to this aggressive approach. Am I missing something here?
No, you're not missing anything, because this is the way the government deals with crime. So you look at, there's a high murder rate, there's a high crime rate, but nobody deals with the sociological basis, the social basis of crime. So how do you solve the crime problem? You send the army and the police and you declare a state of emergency and you declare a zone of special operations and you go in there and you lock up and you put thousands of young men in the back of a truck and take them to some detention center, and you keep them there unconstitutionally, etc. So this is the way that the government deals with it. They're not into the legal side of it. They're into the violent side of it. So they go there, they mash down your house. They're not interested in leasing land to you. Want to make sure that the seven developers that they want to give the land or sell the land to are assured that we are doing what we're doing and we're going to deal with these people. Not into the matter in the way in which they should.
So the government simply violate the rights of the people. They don't bother to follow due process. They just use brute force and violate the rights of the people. But hold on, they don't do this to the rich people. They only declare states of emergencies and violate the rights of the poor people. Every time they want to solve crime, they go to poor communities and lock down the communities, and they pick up people off the streets and just lock them up at will and detain them at will, and impose restrictions on people at will. But the rich and powerful are normally exempted from these. So it seems to me that the government that we have from 1944 until now is really an extension of the colonial system. They're really continuing the colonial system, but under the disguise of being a government of the people, by the people, for the people. They just kind of disguise themselves. They have an election. Yeah, to me, it's a fraudulent election. A lot of people don't know this, but it's very fraudulent. But what they do is you have the PSOJ oligarchy, right, which is the club of the rich. The very rich and powerful have their club, and they dictate the electoral system of Jamaica. They dictate, by buying the two parties and funding them, they dictate that their voices will be heard. So the voice of the PNP, the voice of the GLP will be heard, because these PSOJ guys, they own the media and they own the parties. So those media houses and the parties they own will carry the message that the PSOJ wishes to permit. And so really the people of Jamaica think they have a choice, but they don't have a choice, because the PSOJ oligarchy controls the choices. So if somebody controls the choices you have, then really by extension they're controlling you. Is that a fair assessment?
Of course, it's a fair assessment. We supposedly have democracy in this country, where the people are able to express themselves politically. But that doesn't exist. What we have is a democracy of the few, where you elect a handful of people, they go in the parliament and they rule over the vast majority of the people. The people who have elected you don't have any more say. And it's the courts, it's the parliament, it's the military, it's the police, and so on, who now have the say in terms of what is done. The trade unions are ineffective. They're not involved in any kind of struggle. So the most that what we need is, what we have is indirect democracy. We need direct democracy. Direct democracy where the people can express themselves and be able to tell you what they want, what they don't want, rather than it's every 5 years that they're able to say something. Because all you're doing is just electing these of the same bird, and that is what is happening.
We don't have no democracy, whether indirect or direct, because what I'm seeing is this, right? Remember, the people of Jamaica, when they're going to the polls to vote, based on the reality of life, we have 3 million people roughly here, they tell us. The 3 million people depend on radio and television mostly for their information set. Most of us are so poor, we work so hard, we don't have time we don't have enough money to buy a lot of access to internet and so on. So what the people hear every day is what the media tells them, right? The media says every day, here's the issue, here's the issue, here's the issue. The media tells them every day, here's the GLP, here's the BNP. At election time, the PSOJ will spend, last time they spent $330 million. Wow. So to spend $330 million means you will have effective communication. You're going to be able to effectively buy candidates, send them into the communities to go and talk to the people. They can have entourage, they can have jeeps, they can drive into the rural areas easily. They have the gas that is being paid for by these, private monies. They can go there and have cameras. They can pay the media to come and cover them. They can pay for beautiful ads. They can pay for buses to bus people all over the place. They can pay for refreshment and social gatherings. They can pay for t-shirts. They can pay for caps and pins and bands. So really, and then the thing is, regardless of which of these two sides that the PSOJ funds, at the end of the day, because the PSOJ funds both sides will do what the PSOJ wants them to do, one way or the other. They might do it with a different flair. One might do it with a greater degree of immediate handouts in the local community. Another one might do it with a greater degree of handouts to the richer side of the equation. But at the end of the day, Lloyd, what this means is that you don't have democracy, because the people are not getting a chance to really vote, because they will not see the other candidates. If you were to run as an independent candidate in this election, in all honesty, let's say you were to decide you're going to run as an independent candidate, how much money do you have to print flyers galore and to hire people galore to go and distribute those flyers, if you're going to use flyers? How much airtime could you buy on radio and television? How would you force yourself into a debate which is controlled by the Debates Commission, which is controlled by the PSOJ? How will you get the media to cover you unless you do some antics that makes you look ridiculous and stupid? How will you get them to cover you? So what kind of democracy is that?
So what you're actually saying is that money running the country, the rich and the powerful control it. Let's remember that in the last election, it was 30-something% of the people who voted. So there is a legitimacy crisis as far as the government is concerned, because it means that 70% of the people didn't vote, 30-something percent voted, and you split that between the two political parties, so that there is a legitimacy crisis as we speak.
Exactly.
And not only that, but we know that when election time comes around, you go out and you give them money here, and you give them money there, and you give some money there. So that is how you get votes.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the rich and the powerful are the ones who give them the money and say, well, here's $1 million, here's whatever it is.
Both sides. And again, the same company, it's not like the company voting, and saying, okay, let's say Grace Kennedy was saying, I prefer what the GLP is offering, and they give the money to the GLP. And let's say Sandals say, I like what the PNP is doing, and I give to the PNP. And so it's a matter of, people are giving to what they believe in. And so they're roughly giving the same amount to both sides, covering their asses, and they're making sure that no matter which of the two win, when it comes time to pass laws and regulations and to write new policies, they will be able to say, no, don't do that. Okay, that is fine, and so on. Which is why, Lloyd, after 78 years of those two parties, we still don't have the basic problem of every Jamaican being a property owner. All of the poor people that they love. We still don't have a program, a policy, a structured approach that would ensure all Jamaicans have what is theirs by right, which is a piece of property. Every Jamaican, every family have by right. Because if slavery didn't happen and we all had our plots of lands, right, or property, that would have been passed down from generation to generation to generation. But because they stole our land from us and stole our labor from us, from our foreparents, that legacy of theft is what has been passed down. And we know, descendants of those who have been robbed, suffer the consequences. Yes, some of us manage to escape it through various routes. Some go abroad, some get connected politically, and some work hard and overcome through their genius as an entrepreneur. Great. But the vast majority of us are still suffering the effects of having been robbed, or foreparents being robbed of their labor and robbed of their property. You would think that two parties that claim that they love the poor, that they care about Jamaicans, that over a period of 78 years, they would have been able to find a program, a pathway to fully redress the situation and give the landless Jamaicans access to property so that they too can now be a part of the economic system where they would be fully backed by at least a decent accommodation from which they can learn and grow and expand according to their potential. Am I wrong?
Well, listen, when you talk about the private sector organization of Jamaica, when the companies that fund them do so, they're expecting something in return. And one of the things they expect in return is no tax increase. You're not going to increase our taxes. And very rarely do you see any taxes being imposed on the rich, the powerful, the big companies and so on. They are protected. Their profit rates are protected. There's nothing that is done. You must remember that Jamaica is also one of the most corrupt countries in the world. And up to several years ago, we were one of the most indebted countries in the world as well. The IMF came on the scene and the IMF said, well, all right, we're going to work out a deal. First, they canceled some debt, or they renegotiated some of the debt. And they said, well, listen, the debt to GDP rate is 130%. Debt to GDP rate is 130%. We want you to bring it down to 60, 70%. And so what they did was they work a deal, and they said, listen, all the surplus, the budget surplus, must be used to pay back the debt. And so we're going to bring that back down. And that is what both parties have been committed to over the past decade or so, which is that paying back that debt. But that debt, as Prime Minister said when he went to Canada some time ago to speak to Jamaicans in Canada, that the debt is corrupt. So if the debt is corrupt, it means that we, the people, are paying the sacrifice for paying corrupt debt. And that is why we need a commission of inquiry into corruption, and we also need a forensic audit of the debt so that we know who is involved in corruption where debt is concerned, how much money is being paid, who is receiving it, and we would advocate that the people should not pay back corrupt debt. So that is what your taxation, debt, and coming back to the land situation. When the
Before you go back to the land, hold on. Before I go back to the land, I want us to talk a little bit about the debt. Taxation and debt is a very important matter. I know most Jamaicans and most people in the world don't understand economics the way we should, because it's not something that's taught in school in the way it should be taught, if at all. The reason why Jamaica was indebted is because the government of Jamaica, both parties, have bought into a monetary system that is fraudulent. It's a system which says that the government needs to give the banks, through central bank regulation, give the private banks the power to create money, but watch me carefully, to create money out of thin air and push that into the economy by way of debt. And the government in turn borrows money from the banks, the private banks, whether locally or internationally, to fund its deficit run programs. What this does, it creates, first, an unnecessary private debt, and secondly, it creates interest on that debt. The interest part is even greater than the principal itself, if you look at the compounding effect of that. What this does is ensure that the government becomes a funnel of funds to the private banking cartels, which then expand their profitability at the expense of the unsuspecting people, now, the poor people, the working people, who have to work hard to pay back that debt. At the same time, the private banks are getting to lend money that they did not earn to the same consumers and citizens at interest, which is causing them to have to spend 25, 30, even 50 years trying to pay back these debts at exorbitant interest rates unnecessarily. If, on the other hand, Jamaica had followed the path of what we call free banking and ensuring that the government does not borrow, unless it's extraneous circumstances, does not borrow at interest from private banks, but borrows from its own central bank within the capacity of our productivity, thereby never having significant amount of any private debt and never paying any interest on the money it borrows from itself through the central bank, that would have kept Jamaica significantly debt-free. So most of the debt we have today, is actually corrupt debt, because none of that debt was really necessary, and most of it was engineered to give the government money to cover the cost of corruption, while not delivering the public services that we needed of education, of healthcare, and facilitating a transition of our economy from a master-slave version to a truly free and fair market economy.
Well, let us put it this way. There is no transparency where government management operation is concerned. The government, I think it's $2 trillion, Jamaican dollars, that we are in debt. $2 trillion. And I recently sent ATI requests to the Ministry of Finance and also to the Auditor General saying, listen, the Inter-American Development Bank lends millions of dollars to the Office of the Prime Minister to carry out administrative, work and to make sure that the government operates properly. I would like to know what this money was spent on, how it was spent, and so on and so forth, because it's in the budget, but we just don't know who got the money and how the money was spent, what the programs were, etc. Neither the Auditor General nor the Ministry of Finance would give me that information. So it means that all this money is through the Office of the Prime Minister. We don't know how the money is spent. And the thing about it is that corruption is easiest where it is spent administratively, because we don't know how that is not like, say, they are advertising for a contract with contractors to build a road or something like that. I mean, this is internal. So you can pay administrator more money to carry out some kind of internal program and so on and so forth. And we don't know how that money was spent at all. So the debt, if it is corrupt, it has to be cancelled. We have to just deal with that. We cannot pay corrupt debt. And there is also debt which is used to engage in development and so on, which doesn't add anything to the economy, doesn't contribute anything to the lives of the people. And as a consequence of corrupt debt, it means that education is underfunded, it means that health is underfunded, it means that the infrastructure, the environment, picking up garbage, and we don't have enough crops. We see that every single night. So this issue of debt is a very, very important issue, and we have to confront it, because
so the Jamaican people are being forced to pay back the debt, bad debt. I call it bad debt because corrupt debt. If right now you, Lloyd D'Aguilar, if you had a debt of say $2 million right now, we would suspect that you would have something nice to show for it. You would have something really nice to show for the 2 billion US dollars. We in Jamaica owe $2 trillion, and we have nothing to show for it. I mean, what do we have? Our roads, most of our roads are a mess. Our people, many of our people are living in squalor or living in some decent conditions. Our education system is not functioning well and is not delivering what our students need today in order to compete in the global economy. Our healthcare system leaves much to be desired. We can't collect garbage properly in our streets. Our public transportation system is pitiful, to say the least. Our police can't be paid properly. Our teachers are running away from the country. So basically, we have a 2 trillion debt, and we can't show how this debt has improved our capacity to produce, how it has improved our standard of living, how it has improved our future. We're paying for the past, and this is money that was spent in the past. And today we're suffering to pay it back, and we don't have the assets to show how this $2 trillion has created a better asset for us, meaning our people are well educated, well developed. If you look at Singapore, they have truly spent their money very well because their people are living a beautiful life compared to ours. The average, GDP per capita is like 65,000 for them, while for us it's like 5,000 and fluctuating. So where have we gone wrong? I hear things like, Michael Manley gave us the NHT. What went wrong with the NHT? How come after all these years, from the 70s, we have the National Housing Trust? How come that hasn't given us all houses by now and have everybody living in a decent house? I see some matches box going up now for some big numbers that the average person can't qualify for or afford. What went wrong with the NHT?
Well, let me put it this way. The NHT has to operate and to function according to profit. If it is not making a profit, then it's not viable. It means that more money has to be taken from the coffers to support the NHT and keep it going. So the NHT uses its money to houses for upper middle class people who can afford the kind of mortgage and so on. But where poor people are concerned, you can't afford a mortgage, and the NHT has to show its balance sheet at the end of the year that it did make a profit statement and so on. So every which way you slice it, it's all about profit. It's all about making money, and there is no politics.
How can the NHT be a profit making? The NHT is not supposed to be a profit making entity. The NHT is not a business.
It's not supposed to be a business.
The NHT is a trust fund, The NHT is supposed to be a trust fund, meaning,
right.
National Housing Trust. And the purpose of the trust fund is to provide housing for low-income people. That's all. The trust fund is supposed to provide housing for low-income Jamaicans. Now, what I'm hearing and seeing then is that NHT is fraudulent. It's a scam because the government uses a National Housing Trust Fund to require every single employee to pay into this fund by law. It's a mandate. It's illegal for an employer not to deduct this money from your pay and to send it to the government. Am I right? It's illegal, isn't it, to not do this? So it's a mandate. It's a dictate that you must contribute. So they're forcing 100% of workers to contribute to the fund. And then the fund turns around and only give a benefit to about 25% of the contributors. And that group of 25% includes those who are wealthy and don't need this, okay? So wealthy people, for example, let's say I'm wealthy and my wife and I, and we have 3 daughters and we're wealthy. We can put our 3 daughters on payroll, right? Let them pay into this NHT. We know that we'll be able to afford any house for them, any price house. But we now allow them to go out and take the benefit away from somebody else who really needs it. But the reason they can do that, they will qualify. The other poor person won't qualify. So my three daughters can all go and apply for their NHD based on the salary I will put on the books for them. They will be able to borrow enough money and they can then get this benefit at the expense of the 75% who will never qualify. Never qualify. So 75% of the contributors, based on the rules, qualify. Now tell me something, Lloyd. Isn't that a point?
Well, let me say that the NHD, you have the consolidated fund, and the government has taken money from the NHD to put into the consolidated fund so that it can carry out its budget projects and so on. So it's not that we have a policy where we're saying, for example, land for the landless, regardless. We're going to make sure that anybody who have a land is going to get a land. We're not saying that we're going to have free education for everybody from the kindergarten right up to the tertiary level. We don't have that kind of a society. All right? And so everything.
Hold on. I want to check this out. There are 2 points. Now, Lloyd, there are 2 parts. There are 2 parts. One part is the government directly steals from the NHD pot of money. They directly go in and they come up with all kinds of shenanigans and say, we need to take this big chunk out of the NHD fund in order to plug a hole in the consolidated fund, the operating fund that they should have to run the country. So they already tax us separately. They tax us for the consolidated fund. They tax us to do the other things of government, right? They tax us for that. But they are inefficient and ineffective, so they come up short. They don't have enough money for all of the things they want to pay for and spend on. So they go to this trust fund, which is a trust fund set aside for housing for the poor, and they go to this trust fund and they steal some of this money and then create laws to say it's legal for them to steal it. You agree with that? Is that
Well,
so?
this is the point I'm making, is that they can use the money in the way in which they want it. And then you have a prime minister that is going to
But it was a trust fund.
for political purposes, that he's going to build 40,000 houses at the end of the year or within 7 years for the people. And so on. I mean, he's just posturing. He's looking votes. He's trying to make himself popular. But when you examine it and you look at it in a critical kind of way, you see it's not possible. And so therefore, this thing about people stealing land and so on is just a posturing, of forceful, violent posturing on the part of the prime minister. We need to have a policy where there is land for landless. We need free education. We need
I know that. But I want to just, I'm trying to break this down for our listeners.
And one more thing, we need direct democracy. We don't need
Did you freeze? I think you're frozen. Or is it me? Which of us are frozen? People in there, if you can hear me, one of us are frozen here. Maybe it's me. I hope it's not. Am I frozen? Can you hear me? Let me know.
direct democracy. We need to see so that in the community comes away from, because central government is not solving people. We need.
Right. So Lloyd, hold on a second though. Oops, he's gone. What happened here? I don't know why he's gone. Lloyd, can you hear me? Sorry about that. I want to find out. I hear you, and you're making some very, very good points. And you were frozen a while ago. But I want to break this down for our viewers. I want to break this down. I wanted to know if you agree that when they take money from the NHD fund, they're doing something which should be illegal because they're taking money from a trust fund and moving over to do things for which the fund was not established. Do you agree with that?
Well, when you use the word illegal, it's probably not the appropriate word because, the government can do whatever it wants to do.
Well, no. The government can't do whatever it wants to do. I know that's what they want us to believe.
It may not be the policy that they set up in the first place.
No, but remember, they said to us, this is no man, seriously, this is serious. They said to us, we are putting in place a law that says we're going to take money out of your paycheck by force, right? By force. We're going to take, you have no say. Once you work in this country, we're going to take this money out. And the reason we're taking it is to provide housing for the poor. So, and they call it a national housing trust, a trust fund for the poor, that they're going to take everybody and fund the poor. Now, if it's a trust fund and they then take money out of the trust fund for something other than what the trust was set up for, isn't that a form of theft?
Well, as I said before, I wouldn't say theft because theft is legal. You understand? Theft is legal on the. So right. There's a political problem that dealing with. The government can steal. The government can use violence against us, etc.
Okay. All right, I follow you now. Okay, I follow you. Good. Yeah. All right, I get it. And I agree with you, by the way. I agree that the government, the form of government we have now, that's why the UIC has a very different model of governance. Our model prevents the government from stealing from you. They cannot steal from you. But to make it simple for my listeners and viewers, what the government has done is wrong. Whichever word you want to call it, whether stealing or illegal, what they did was to lie to the Jamaican people and tell us that the NHT was to be a fund, a trust fund for the purpose of building homes for poor people. And in the end, what they did was to use the money from the trust fund to do something other than what they told us they would do. That's one. And two, the trust fund is a form of scamming, because those who contribute to the fund, the majority of them, 75% of them, will never benefit from the fund. So they give these people false hope and false expectations. In fact, they simply use the NHT as a form of getting political mileage out of the people. And so the people think, my God, this is such a great idea, a great program, a great policy. And they vote for politicians who tell them about things like the NHT. And then in the end, the politicians turn around and trick them. This is a form of scamming, and that makes the Jamaican government the biggest scammer in the island. They who are going after scammers, they are bigger scammers than the scammers they're going after. But anyway,
you see what is happening is that we have two political parties in Parliament that are cut from the same cloth. I call them two wings of the same bird. So the kind of discussion that you and I are having will never happen in Parliament, because both of them, when they're in government or in the opposition, they do the same thing. They may cuss each other, but they, in policy-wise, program-wise, they agree the same way. So we don't have anybody advocating on behalf of poor people. We don't have anybody that is there exposing all the corruption and exposing the way in which they play games with us and say we're going to do this, but they do that. So we need a transformation of the political system where we're going to put the people in power. And as I said, we need to start in the community, because that's where the power has to begin. And when I look at the television news at night, and I see that, especially in the rural areas, the people are organizing themselves. They are demonstrating against poor roads. They're demonstrating against, poor education and poor schooling and hospital and so on. I believe that we need to reach out to those people, and we need to see in what way we can form a movement that is going to bring about change, serious political change in this country. That is what we need.
And that is exactly what the UIC is here for. We are doing exactly that. But let me say thank you very much, Lloyd, for being with us tonight. Really appreciate you coming on, and your thoughts and your contribution are really appreciated. Let's hope the Jamaican people hear what you're saying and let us pull together as one Jamaica because we're stronger together. Thank you very much. Take care and all the best.
Thank you. All right, all the best.
So there you go, my friends. That was Lloyd D'Aguilar of the anti-corruption, the People's Anti-Corruption Group, sharing his thoughts with us on what is happening right now in the whole arena of the government as it relates to we the people and our right to have property in this country. Well, I'm ready for your calls tonight. Feel free to call in 876-293-0812 for us to discuss. And here comes the first caller. Just a second here. Hello, good night. Joseph Patterson speaking. Can you hear me? Wonderful. Speak up loudly for me. What's your name, sir? DJ from Canada. Yes, man. All go on. Excellent. Yes, man. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right, and how it affects the economy of the country. So, if I can get this correct, what is happening is that the government is stealing the money that the taxpayers come up with through because one of the other companies government money is not to take care of the common necessities and amenities that everybody would like to utilize, such as roads, schools, healthcare, unions. That is what they call it practice for. So they're skipping the taxes off the top and using it for their own purposes and whatever they want.
Yes.
So the state money from the banks of Jamaica, which is not bad, but I think it's private. So I always it's a private bank, right?
All right, they're not the people online not hearing you. I don't know why. Can you speak a little louder? I have you right up to the microphone, but they're not hearing you.
I would say that the NCB, the National Commercial Bank of Jamaica, right?
Yes.
It's not a private bank, or is that owned by the people? How does that work?
Oh, it's a private bank. It's a private bank. Private bank.
Right, so these are the soldiers that come up with the fraudulent debt locally, which is the majority of the debt, and they know
No, they didn't come up with it, you know. You're right anyways. They used the two political parties to come up with it to benefit them. So you're right. You're actually right. They come up with it, but they use the two parties. Yes, go ahead.
yes, so Trump is the final main reason why I call this. I feel like, can you hear me?
No, he's off the call right now. But
because
yeah.
it's Pokemon.
No, man, no. He had finished his time on the program and he's off. But go ahead and make your point for me quickly, because they can't hear you very well enough. So we can't keep you on too long. But they're not hearing you for some reason.
Okay, so the point I'm trying to say is that how will the UIC address the land? Because if the land is exposed to private investment, how will the UIC remove that land and effectively distribute it to us, whether through legislation, through policies,
All right. I'm going to take you off and you just listen to the answer. We're not hearing you properly on this, and I can hear you, but the others can't hear you clearly. I'm not sure why. But I will answer the question, all right? So stay tuned. All right. So the question from DJ is, how will the UIC address the problem of land redistribution or distributing land to the people? The UIC has a policy, you see? Our policy is to make every Jamaican a property owner by right. You already own the land. So all that's missing now is for the government to have a streamlined program that will ensure that your property right is respected by the government. I hesitate to share with you the details of the UIC's plan because everything that we share in public, these two parties quickly take them and announce them, and the people now hear it from them. And when they don't deliver on these policies, and we now say it, the people simply say, "Oh, we hear that already." So we have made a decision that we're going to cut back on how much details we give on it. But we make this commitment to you, the Jamaican people, that every single family in Jamaica, every single family that is without property will get property in the new Jamaica. And by the way, we have more than enough land, if you will, to provide to the Jamaican people. I'll give you an example. The Singapore is the size of St. Thomas. That means Singapore can fit into Jamaica 15 times. You could fit 15 Singapores into Jamaica. Okay, 15. Now Singapore, we can fit 15 of them in Jamaica. Singapore has almost 6 million people. 6 million people living in the size of St. Thomas. 6 million. So just imagine if we needed to, we could fit 15 times 6 million people into Jamaica. If we needed to. We're not going to do that. We don't have to do that. But I'm just trying to show you that we have more than enough space here to accommodate our 3 million people. Now we have about 3 to 4 million Jamaicans living overseas. If you take the 3 to 4 million people living overseas, Jamaicans, and you take the 3 million living here roughly, that's a total of about 6 to 7 million people. Remember, Singapore, which is the size of St. Thomas, has almost 6 million people. So that means in Singapore, you could fit all of Jamaica's population now, those living here in Jamaica, and all the Jamaicans living overseas. You could take them together and put them all into Singapore, and that would occupy only the space of St. Thomas. That leaves us 14 unoccupied parishes. Just so you understand the magnitude of how big Jamaica is. As small as they say we are, we're very big. Now Singapore, using that small plot of land, about the size of St. Thomas, and 6 million people, under the great leadership of Lee Kuan Yew and his team, was able to convert Singapore from a dirty, backwater, backward country into a first-class country in 25 years. Okay? We in Jamaica had and still do have more resources than Singapore. All we lack in Jamaica is the leadership which is committed to truly developing the people of Jamaica, to realizing their full potential, and a system of governance that would protect the people from bad government. That's all we're lacking. We're lacking the leadership and the system in order for us to have a first-class country in Jamaica that is safe, that is clean, that is orderly. Now, I am determined to be the Lee Kuan Yew of Jamaica. I am not doing this merely to become prime minister or president. You know, some people, that's their goal, their ambition is to be prime minister or to be president. And so when they get there, they don't even know what to do because that's the focus for them. That's not my focus. My focus is on creating that new Jamaica. Let's see here. Hello, good evening, and welcome to UIC Liberty TV. This is Joseph Patterson. Who am I speaking with? Fine, thank you. Where are you calling from, Joseph?
I'm calling from Colorado.
Colorado. Wonderful. Good to have you on tonight. What do you want to tell us?
Not to be you that I'm so elated. I'm happy. Sometimes I cry when it's not that I'm soft or anything, but when I see you come up and you talk such passion and love and for the Jamaican people and the country that I'm from, where I love so well, as much as I'm in the US here, my home is Jamaica, and I intend to return home one day. And I want to come back to Jamaica that you dream for it to be. And I want to encourage you, sir, all this century. And I want to wish you all the best in your effort. And I'm here and I'm supporting your movement financially, because that's the only thing I can do right now. And I'm talking to my fellow Jamaicans who I encounter with to check out your manifesto, to check out your website, to see what you are about, check out your movement, and to support.
Thank you so much.
This is what I want to say, basically.
Well, thank you very much, Richardson. And guess what? Don't say your anymore. Don't say your program and your party and whatever. It's ours now. Eh? It's mine and yours. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it program this. Yeah, man. All of it together. Yeah, man. So, and I thank you so much for your donation, because without you, we can't do what we're doing. Without your donation, a lot of people here in Jamaica run up their mouth, but they don't do anything. They will never organize the Jamaican people to get rid of bad governance and bring in good governance. They just talk all the time. But we are taking action, and you are providing the funding for us to take action. Without you, we couldn't do it. So thank you so very much. All right? Take care. Respect. My pleasure. Have a good night. Bye-bye. All right, so that was another caller there. Somebody says, turn the mic around. Turn the mic around so that the knobs are facing you. Well, I'm wondering if, let me just check something here. Let me just make sure that this is, I see what's happening, guys. We have a bit of a technical issue here. Let me see if I can fix that. Let me see here. 1 second. All right, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Give me a second here. And let me see if we can get this guy in. I see the problem. I am going to fix our sound problem right now. Give me 1 second here. All right, here we go. I think we're just the problem here. And we shall have the next caller sounding much better this time. Thank you so much, and forgive me for missing that. All right, so where were we? The gentleman made a very important point a while ago, and I want to reiterate it, okay, for all of us. Very important that we know that the UIC is not Joseph Patterson's party. The manifesto is not Joseph Patterson's manifesto. The 10-point plan is not Joseph Patterson's 10-point plan. This party, this manifesto, this 10-point plan, these policies to rescue our country are fully owned. The new constitution that we're writing, that we're drafting, that we're going to share with you and kick off the We the People campaign is fully owned all the way. This is about rescuing Jamaica from the hands of those who are determined to continue the policies, to continue the mission of the colonial masters. And we must put an end to it, and we can only do it together. They have far more money than Joseph Patterson and the small team that is working. If you put me and Chase and Naika and Douglas and Misha and Carlene and Sheldon and Miss Burke, Mrs. Patterson, and all the others, if you put us all together, our finances are no match for the PSOJ oligarchy. All of us together is probably 1 month of what they will give to the PNP and GLP. So we are no match. We can't match them dollar for dollar. But just imagine if all of we come together, they are no match for us. If just 1,000 persons, 1,000 Jamaicans here at home or abroad would give $25, that will make us have enough money, not as much as the other two, but that would give us enough money to put a candidate in every single constituency, all 228 divisions, all 63 constituencies. If you just give us 1,000 of you, that is less than 0.03% of the entire diaspora population. If just 1,000 of you gave us $25 every month religiously, just make a little sacrifice and forget about buying a cup of coffee or a bagel or whatever, and donate $25 a month. You will help to rescue your country. One more call coming in. Hold on. Good evening, Mr. Bruce Davis. You're calling back. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Patterson. Well, I don't have to ask you how you're doing that. I can hear you're up and doing well.
Wonderful, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, I ain't going to say much right now. All I'm saying, I want to say that coming in close to the end of this month within Jamaica, and looking forward to see you. There are some little things I want to talk to you about, something that we need to get, together,
Yes, no problem. Looking forward to that.
And I need my 2 shirts.
All right. Well, please, when you come to Jamaica, you can't leave without your 2 shirts. And if you don't know how to reach us, you know the telephone number, you have the number here. Make sure you call this number and get your shirts. I'm looking forward to seeing you, hopefully.
Yes, sir. And I'm also using this opportunity to appeal all uniters who are listening.
Yes.
Particularly those who, whether you're in Jamaica or you're in diaspora, please, donate. Need to, and we don't want to wait until the election is over. Need to get our election machine placed with the money.
Absolutely.
Mr. Patterson was saying that that's the reason why I want to appeal all those, especially diaspora. Please, I am not going to contribute $25. My aim is to contribute $100 a month. And the reason why I pledge to do this, I know that there are many Jamaicans out there who would like to donate, but cannot afford it. So those who can do more, however few of those who would like to get them. So do not worry about $25 if you can. Those who really need to just do it for this bigger list. If we let this opportunity get by, go away from us, this is not going to happen in our lifetime. They never going to give me that toilet policy. I'm confident of that. Because the amount of terrorism that you have been through out there, I don't think I could put up with it. I know where it's going. So, none of us have someone who will go forward. We need to value support it. That's how we can do right. We need all uniters. Please, talk to your family, talk to your friends. I've given a lot of people send them out and tell them about they don't know about you idea. When they do, it will be manifested. It's not they come back home because it goes. Why it's not good enough. So, and I'm asking everyone, don't just say it sounds good, it looks good. Let us help do good to make it good come true. So, Patterson, have a very good night, sir. And all the nights out there, have a blessed night on the side of a blessed and enjoy the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davis. Have a good night yourself, and looking forward to talking to you again next time. All the best.
Yes, sir.
All right. So Mr. Davis says that he is I don't know why why you're not hearing better. Let me see here. Yep, everything is set properly. Yeah, I don't know why it's not sounding as good. But Such is life. So the gentleman is saying that he is not going to give $25 a month. He's going to give $100 a month to make up for those who might not be able to give. And those of you here in Jamaica, membership is just $1,000 per month. But another way of looking at it is less than $25 a week. All of us can help. But anyways, I want to kind of wrap up our conversation with a few things. From the top, let us remind ourselves clearly that the colonizers robbed us of our lands and our labor for over 400 years. Can you believe that? The colonizers robbed us of our land and our labor for over 400 years. That's a lot of time for them to steal our labor and our land from us. That decimated our people. That put our people at a huge disadvantage. And we must never allow ourselves to forget that reality. But worse than that, the colonial masters then created two colonial parties that worked with the local plantocracy. That was the PSOJ back in those days, the plantocracy, those who owned the plantations, the big houses, and the big plantation. So the two colonial parties were created by the colonial powers. Many people don't know that. Created by the colonial parties, by the colonial forces. They created two colonial parties and they worked with the plantocracy. Those were the rich elites here in Jamaica, the PSOJ equivalent, and the media, which was the Gleaner back then, to get rid of Marcus Garvey and to get rid of his grassroots party that was truly for the people. Yes. So in other words, the colonial masters gave us a fake dichotomy of two parties which were funded by the PSOJ oligarchy to represent the rich and the powerful while pretending to care about the masses that they made poor and powerless. I wonder if you see the trick. They created two parties to give us a fake idea of having an option and funded those two parties to work on behalf of the rich and the powerful while pretending to care for the people that they made poor and powerless. Yeah? I want you to remember that. I want you to note that. I want you to tell everybody you know about that so that they know that when they jump up and down about PNP and JLP, you're really jumping up and down about the PSOJ oligarchy. Now, over the last 78 years, since the first election under self-governance in 1944, these two colonial parties have done nothing to fully return the land to the descendants of those it was stolen from. Instead, they used the politics of division and distraction to maintain the colonial master's system of wealth extraction from an unsuspecting nation. So your mother never knew, your grandmother never knew, your father never knew, your grandfather never knew what they were doing to you, what they were doing to them. That they were actually using politics, partisan politics, to divide them and distract them so that the PSOJ oligarchy, working through these two parties, could systematically rape and rob the economy of our people. That's why they did absolutely nothing of significance to reverse the robbery that was done by the colonial masters. In fact, the two parties became, like in the old days of slavery, they became the Bakra masters. the middlemen, working on behalf of the slave master. They just came in the middle. Remember, you know, the Bakra master looked like the same people them that were slaves, but they get to dress better, they get to eat better, and they get to carry the whip. And so these two parties are the creation of the colonial masters. Yeah? They are the creation of the colonial masters to come before us and pretend like we have two options, when in fact, everywhere you turn, Maka juke you. Because whether you turn green or you turn orange, whether you vote J or you vote P, you are still voting for the colonial master represented in the PSOJ oligarchy who own and run the system. Just like when Marcus Garvey was around, the media was the gleaner. They owned the gleaner. Just like when Marcus Garvey was around, they create the two parties and use them to oppress him and to push him out and to get rid of his party. Why they got rid of Marcus Garvey? Why they got rid of the Marcus Garvey party? Simple reason. Because Marcus Garvey and the Marcus Garvey party was for the people of Jamaica, the majority people of Jamaica, the black people of Jamaica. And so they know the people were brainwashed. So they put two white faces in front of them and get them to move away from Marcus Garvey, which was hard, by the way, because initially the people loved and supported Garvey. They voted for him twice. Even when he was in prison, they voted for him. But they said, we have to get the people to break away from Marcus Garvey. And so they did everything to break him down, everything to pull the people away from him. And they gave us two parties to divide us and distract us so they can continue the master slave economy of extracting our wealth from us. Yeah? And so, even though these two parties have come up with numerous plans and programs concerning land reform and housing solution, yeah, all of those various plans and programs of land reform and housing solutions have failed miserably. They were never intended to succeed. They have all deliberately failed because what they want is for you to think that they're trying to help you, to think that they're trying to fix Jamaica. Yeah? While they're making the majority of us poor, keeping us poor, but telling us that they want to make us better. Better must come. They're going to make money jingle in your pocket. Yeah? Log on to progress. Poverty to prosperity. Yeah? But they are not committed to really fixing the problem, because if they were, they've had 78 years to fix it until now, and they have not been able to fix it for 78 years. Think about that. How long should it take for you to figure out how to create a safe country? How long should it take for you to create a clean country? How long should it take for you to create an orderly country? How long should it take for you to create a program of making the Jamaican people property owners? If nothing else, they could have just gone and copied what Lee Kuan Yew did. Lee Kuan Yew did all the thinking already for the people of Singapore and successfully brought them to 93% property ownership. If you go to Singapore, 93% of their people are property owners. So why is it that the same two parties who have been in our government for 78 years, why is it they could not and still cannot find a way to help the Jamaican people to all or at least a large percentage become property owners? Why? Because they have no intention of doing so. They have no intention of making us anything more than hewers of wood and growers of water. The mass of the Jamaican people, particularly the black Jamaican people, are meant to be slaves, or a small percentage of them must be backroom masters for the slave masters. And yes, the slavery is different. It's a different type of slavery, but it's still slavery. It's still slavery. So the UIC is committed to righting this wrong. We will give the people them back them land. We are going to make Jamaica truly be for the Jamaican people. And so we are going to fix what they have failed to fix for 78 years. The NHT, nice sounding program, lovely sounding program, won many votes for politicians, turned out to be a legalized form of scamming. It was used for political mileage, and then it was used to cover the cost of corruption. They force 100% of the employees to contribute to the scheme, but 75% of them will never qualify to get their partner draw. The NHT is a pyramid scheme. It is a massive, massive scam. Massive scam. They used it to trick the people to get votes, and then they used the people's money to cover the cost of corruption in government. So when the government budget a fail because them thief out the people their money, they then go and thief more money by taking it out of the NHT and putting it into their so-called consolidated fund. Wickedness. And then they come and call people squatters. Then they come and bulldoze people who are trying to find a way to survive. Yes. They know that owning land and buying or building a house is next to impossible for most of us Jamaicans, especially at today's artificially inflated prices. Yet, land ownership is a birthright. It was bought and paid for by the blood, the sweat, and the tears of our 5 national heroes. Yes, 5 national heroes, not 7. This birthright of ours, this land of ours, was paid for by the blood, the sweat, and tears of 5 national heroes. Nanny, Sam Shaw, Bogle, Gordon, and Garvey. They fought for this freedom, and they fought for our land. I don't recognize the other 2 people that call national heroes. They're a national disgrace. We, the people of Jamaica, should never ever have to buy land on which to live, because the land was ours from the beginning. It was stolen from us, just like our labor was stolen from us. I wonder if you agree with me. Do you agree with me that the land of Jamaica was stolen from us, and therefore we should not have to buy land? The land must be returned to us. Do you agree? Yes or no? Type yes or no in the comment box. If you agree that the land is ours and was stolen from us and must be returned to us free of charge, type yes in the comment box. If you don't think so, type no. If you believe that the land is not our land, we don't deserve it, we must go and find money and buy it, then put no in the box. But I know, I'm not guessing about this, I'm not saying maybe. I am absolutely certain, without a shadow of a doubt, that the land of this country belongs to the people of this country. Every one of us, every family should own land in this country. And the UIC has a plan to make you a property owner. Every Jamaican, whether you're here in Jamaica or you're abroad, we are going to make you a property owner in this country because it is yours by right. It is your birthright. It is your heritage. It is your inheritance. It is not something for the government to decide that you should have. The role of the government is to organize it so it's decent and in order. Yeah. So when they ended slavery in 1838, when they ended their diabolical system of robbing and raping our people, every Jamaican then should have been given their piece of land. And by the way, it wasn't a big country then. It was about, let me see, I think the number of black people, former slaves in the country then, was about 800,000 to 1 million people, black people who were alive in Jamaica at the time, who survived the treachery, the terror, the evil of slavery. So this land, my friend, is your land. This land is my land. So there is nobody who should be called a squatter in this country. Government doesn't own any land, nor does the crown, worst of all. The land belongs to the people as a collective and as individuals. What does this mean? It means that there are some lands that we will own in common. These are our parks, our roadways, our public properties, government buildings that we will own in common. Yeah? Our forestry, our designated areas, protected zones, our seas that we'll own in common. And then all of us must have private property that belongs to our family, that is handed down from generation to generation, never to be lost because it is ours. But the colonial masters, the PSOJ oligarchy, and their two colonial parties have manufactured myriad ways to deny the masses their birthright inheritance, while enriching a connected few with many acres of our land, from which they will make a huge fortune while people suffer. And we have a prime minister that represents that evil system of slavery, that represents that evil system of colonialism. And that's why he found it easy to go and bulldoze people and push them off of their land, push them out of their homes, destroyed their hard-earned property, because he is a colonial man. He is of the colonial mindset. He wants us to continue to worship the queen and her heirs, and now the king and his heirs. He wants us to remain loyal to the Commonwealth. He wants us to continue to recognize Queen's Council or King's Council. He wants us to continue the tradition of the colonial masters. He wants us to remain the loyal subjects of his or her majesty. And we say, time up. We in the UIC say, enough is enough. We've had enough of this colonial foolishness. We want our land back, and we want our freedom now. And so I, Joseph Patterson, and the United Independence Congress of Jamaica, by the will of the people of Jamaica, if you so entrust us with your money and your support, then we are going to take this country out of their hands and return the land to the people of Jamaica. That is my commitment. That is my goal. That is my mission. We are going to take back this country and give it back to the people to whom it belongs. And we're going to carry some people to court. And we're going to make sure they pay for what they have done to our people. Yes, we're going to make sure that they pay. We're going to make sure that they pay. Property taxes too is a way. Property taxes is also a trick. Property taxes, listen carefully, Property taxes is a way of excluding the majority of poor people from owning and retaining real estate, believe it or not. Property taxes is a tool that messes with the mind and undermines the finances of a people. First, you must buy the land at exorbitant prices. That's what they tell you. They have tricked us into thinking we need to buy land to live on. You might have to buy land, to do business and just live. But your land for you to live on and provide for your family, you shouldn't have to buy that. So first, they trick us into we must buy land at exorbitant prices. Exorbitant prices. And then we must pay a rent for that land in the form of property taxes every year in order to hold on to it. Which means you don't own the land then, you rent the land. This causes a lot of financial pressure and anxiety, especially as the poor landholder gets older and lacks the earning capacity to pay this rent that they call property tax. This ensures that over time, the rich gets to buy up the land of those poor who happen to have any. Many times the land becomes idle. The land, none of the family members want to take it up because nobody don't want to pay off this everlasting property tax that is building every year, and now becomes a big number. And then the government comes in and take back this land and then sell it to their rich friends who can more than pay whatever the property tax there is to be paid. But then they get the land because the value is in the land. And they keep the majority of people now landless and therefore not having that foundation that they need. It's a trick. So the UIC is going to do away with property taxes. We are going to make sure that you never again have to pay property taxes in this country. Never again. And don't you worry about where we're going to get taxes from. Taxes, you don't have to get taxes from property tax. Property tax is a trick. Everybody must pay income tax. That means when you get older and you have less income, you're paying less taxes if you're not earning much. And if when you're younger and moving into your high earning income years, as you earn more, you pay more taxes. And that will run the country. That's more than enough to run the country. Yeah, more than enough to run the country. So the UIC is going to get rid of property taxes. Now, if you still want to pay property taxes, you're free to send that money into the government anytime you want. But we're going to make sure that when you buy a piece of property, like when you buy a shoes or a car or a dress, you don't keep paying taxes on this all the time. You pay taxes once. We call that a sales tax. So nobody should be paying rent for their land. So the UIC is going to get rid of that. No more property taxes on the UIC and no more buying land to build a home. You are entitled to that land. So we're going to fix that problem. So the first step on the path to your financial freedom is property ownership. There is no liberty without property, said Marcus Garvey. That's why the slave masters were compensated for the loss of their illegitimate properties. But the former slaves were never ever compensated for their loss of earnings and for the lands that were stolen from them. The UIC is committed to righting these wrongs, and we want to right those wrongs now. We are going to empower the Jamaican people, every single Jamaican. So if you're a young man or a young woman right now, and you're worried about being able to afford a decent home, the UIC is going to make that possible. You won't have to find money to buy the land. We're going to create a solution. We have created a solution that's going to ensure that you and your young family will have a decent place to live in and it will be affordable. But your right to land will be assured. It was Marcus Garvey who said, justice is greater than the law. Justice is greater than the law. So we're looking for justice. And we're going to abolish all the unjust laws so that we can give you justice. We shall give you justice. Marcus Garvey was right. Justice is greater than the law. Under the UIC system of governance, no squatter no day again. You cannot be a squatter in your own country unless you willingly sold or gave away your property. The UIC will make every Jamaican a property owner by right. No squatter no day again. I wonder if you can write it. It's patois. Can you write that? Somebody write that for me in the comment section. Can you write no squatter no day again? That's what the UIC is telling the Jamaican people. We are going to eradicate squatting in Jamaica, not by pushing people off of their land, not by criminalizing people who are suffering and trying to find a way to survive. We are going to end squatting by providing housing solutions, by providing land ownership, by making organic farming the oil of Jamaica, by creating a new Jamaica that empowers everybody. No squatter, no day again. Thank you, Mr. Williams, or Miss Williams, which is it? No squatter, no day again. No squatter, no day again. That is the new refrain. No squatter, no day again, because we are going to get rid of squatting out of this country, not by brutalizing squatters, not by mashing up the house of squatters, not by calling squatters criminals. We're going to end squatting by providing for the people of this country what should have been provided 78 years ago when the JLP and PNP took over, 60 years ago when the JLP and PNP brought on that fake independence. We are going to do what those two parties should have done, did not do, and will never do, because they are committed to maintaining colonialism. They're committed to working in the interest of the rich and powerful while keeping down the poor and powerless, while claiming to care. No squatter, no day again. Hashtag, no squatter, no day again. We are going to build a new Jamaica now. We're going to build a righteous Jamaica now. We're going to build an equitable Jamaica now. We're going to build a Jamaica where every man, woman, and child can achieve their full potential now, because it's time for good governance now. No squatter, the day again, in a new UIC Jamaica. Let me say this. Something being legal doesn't mean it is right. Slavery was legal, but it was wrong. Similarly, something being illegal doesn't mean it is necessarily wrong. Squatting on so-called government land isn't wrong if the government failed to provide the people with a viable option by respecting their right to land. So if the government has failed to provide you what is your right, what is your inheritance, then you are not doing something illegal. Sorry, you may be doing something illegal by their definition, but you're not doing something wrong. You have a right to that land. And if them fail to give you the land, then you have to take it. Now, we're going to try to take it now in a very orderly way. We're going to unite as one Jamaica against the colonial powers. We're going to unite as one Jamaica against the JLP and PNP. We're going to unite as one Jamaica against the PSOJ oligarchy, which is behind all of this. They were the ones who fund these two parties. They were the ones who caused the laws and regulations to be the way they are. They're the ones who are pushing the Jamaican people off of their land and trying to amass the lands in the hands of a few. And so we are mash down that lie. We're going to mash down that system, and we are going to say, no squatter, no day again. No squatter, no day again. So if you, a Jamaican man or woman, hearing my voice tonight, if you are determined to take back your country, if you are determined to become a landowner, a property owner in this country, if you have been wronged and denied your right to own property in this country, then come together, join hands with me and the UIC, and let us take back your land and take back your property and tell the PSOJ oligarchy and their two-party to go somewhere else with this trickery. We will not tolerate this trickery anymore. We have suffered it for 78 years, hoping, praying, wishing that some way, somehow, these two parties meant the lies that they told us, but it was all a lie. It's all a trick. And don't let them trick you again, because they're coming with a new one now. They're coming with a new trick right now. They're coming with more tricks. Watch it. They're going to come and tell you nice stories again about manly this and manly that, and why you must vote to carry on the PNP. Don't let them fool you. They're going to come hug you up now after they demolish your house, and they're going to play and ring the bell until they come out and vote again. But don't let them trick you. They trick you once, they trick you twice. My God, they have tricked us 78 times, 78 years. Don't let them trick you again. You must remember the first role of government. The first role of government is to protect the right of every citizen to their life, to their liberty, and to their property. The UIC will ensure that every one of us owns a piece of Jamaica and can live with dignity in a decent home, in a safe, clean, and orderly society where everyone can live, work, and retire with dignity. With dignity. Tomorrow night, all being well, I'm going to show you how undignified some of us are living in this country. We need to stop it. It's time for good governance now. The time has come. Time come, says Mark, but I want to tell him and Andrew that time up. The gig is up, the trick is done, the Jamaican people are wising up, and we just need to help now. All of us need to come together and help to get the message across the country, across the diaspora, and let us come together as one Jamaica. And by one Jamaica, I do mean one, all the way, from all across the globe. If you're Jamaican, this UIC movement is for you, a FIWI. Is FIWI movement this? This is our time to rise up as a people and take charge of our country and free ourselves, free our minds, free our land, free our people. And without a doubt, let's tell Mark and Andrew that them time up and no squatter the day again. No squatter the day again. We are now going to change the narrative of this country and create a new Jamaica. So I'm depending on you. I'm counting on you. I need all of you. I can't do it alone. Me and Douglas can't do it. Me and Mrs. Patterson can't do it. Me and Winston Wright can't do it. Me and Misha Earl can't do it. Me and Nahika Williams can't do it. Me and Janet can't do it. Me and Dr. Harvey can't do it. But just imagine if all of us come together, we can do it. We have the power. We have the last say. It's a few of them with a whole heap of money. And it's enough away with a little bit of money. A little bit of enough away, enough away with a little bit of money. So if the enough away with our little bit of money come together, we can overcome the few of them with a whole heap of money. And we can win back this country. We can make Nanny, Sam Sharp, Bogle, Gordon, and Marcus Garvey, our 5 national heroes, proud. Come this Heroes Day, the 17th of October, we are going to be hitting the streets again. We're going to Lloyd D'Aguilar, St. Catherine, to defend the people who are being threatened to be pushed off their land. We're going to Birthright Lodge, Clifton, to defend the people who are being pushed off their lands. We're going to Glenglaff in St. Catherine to defend the people who are being pushed off their land. We're going to go to every parish, every town where there are squatters, so-called. We are going and we are going to defend the people. So I'm calling on all of you for October 17th. We're going to need a bus. We need a big coaster bus right now. We need one or more 29-seater coaster bus right now, so we can transport people from different places as we go and stand up for the people of Glenglaff, stand up for the people of Lloyd D'Aguilar, stand up for the people of Birthright Lodge, those who the government is trying to push out to give the land to for them, friend and company. We're going to stand up for them. So I need your help to get a bus. Yeah, we need about $50,000 for that. How much is that in US? Let me check and see. We need some money for the bus. I'm guessing it's about $50,000. The last time we did one of these, I could be wrong. So we're looking at about 300 and call it $350 US. So somebody send us $350 US so we can get a bus. We need refreshment for the crew. Send us another $100 US for that if you can. We need to get some more flyers. We need at least 2,000 flyers for each of those communities. So call it 6,000 flyers. So give us another $300 US to get those done. Let us pool together, and we're going to those communities where let all of the people there know that the UIC is standing up for them, is standing beside them, is standing with them, and that when they elect us, we are going to make sure they have their property, get their titles free and clear, and will never have to pay a cent in property tax after that. So we want a bus for the 22nd. We're going to show these live, so we need some data. Send us some money so we can get some data. We can live stream each of our stops as we stop at different communities. We're going to have the town crier out. We put together one right now. We need some gas for that. It's going to take us at least, I'm guessing, $60,000-$70,000 in gas Jamaican to go around. We're going to need some more t-shirts. We need t-shirts to give to people. So help us out with that as well if you can. Each t-shirt is 2,500 Jamaican for this type, and then you have the other one for 1,500, I think. Hope my finance people are paying attention. Hope I'm not saying the wrong thing where that is concerned. So if you have a bus to donate, if you know somebody with a bus or two bus, 3 bus, they can donate for us, so we can bring people from Montego Bay, bring people from St. Thomas, bring people from St. Anne's, bring people from St. Elizabeth, Clarendon, Hanover, Trelawney, Portland, Upper St. Andrew, Lower St. Andrew, Kingston. We're going to go all over. We're going to go right around the country to all the squatters community, so-called squatters community, no squatter the day again. And we're going to tell them, no squatter the day again. This UIC movement is going to make sure that their rights are protected. We're going to hold those accountable who have bulldozed their homes. And we're going to eliminate property tax and make them free and clear owners of their property. So we need your help for that. So you can go to our website, uicjamaica.com, make your donation there. You can call into the number and get other alternatives. If you want a different way to contribute, you can reach out to us at this number, 2930812, 876 area code, and let us know. But we can do this. All of us together can do this. We can take back our country one community at a time, one vote at a time, one family at a time. We can take back our country, and we're going to do this. It's not easy. It's hard. Very, very difficult. But we can do this. Together we can. We're stronger together. Let's create one Jamaica. Have a good night, and thank you so much. And looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow night, we have a lineup of persons again coming on. I think we have Valerie Dixon, who wrote a book that is called Too Black to Succeed. We'll also have Miss Yola Gray Baker, a champion for small business and entrepreneurs in Jamaica. She led the efforts against the FinSAC. She has been pushing for years. We must honor these people who have worked so hard and tirelessly to bring truth to the Jamaican people and to unearth all the bad things that have been done to us by our own government. So tomorrow we have a good chat coming for you. Get ready for that. Thank you very much, Joseph Richardson, for giving $100. Thank you. I see somebody else is donating $350. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. We can't do this without you. So blessings and thanks to all of you. Until tomorrow night, same time, right here. Oh, by the way, tomorrow night I'll be on CVM. They have invited me to, I'm surprised. They have invited me to come on and talk about this issue of what the government has done to the people at in Bernard Lodge. So look forward to that. We're going to live stream it here as well, all being well. And I'll be between the two programs. I'll go on to their program. It'll be live streamed here. And when we're finished, I'll come over to here. But don't be surprised if tomorrow they cancel. But if they don't cancel, I will be on CVM and we will broadcast it here and share with you that discussion as well. So see you then. Have a good night and all the best. Remember, one Jamaica, stronger together. Take care. Oh, getting a call. Wait there. Hello, good night. Hello? Yes. Say that again? Oh, well, I'm about to conclude it right now. Oh, you want to talk to me? All right. Yes. Well, it's an interview. It's an interview. I don't know how long it's going to be, but we'll see. Yes. 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 Mm-hmm. Yes. I am not saying that you should say, yes. But I need you to speak, or at least allude to the fact that it's time Jamaican people understand that politics is them and them is politics. Remember, the Bible says that's about political government. Right, yes, exactly. All right, I get the point, but I have to run now. But thank you so much, and I will deliver tomorrow, God willing, and if the technology allows. So stay tuned. It's going to be at 7:30, if all goes well, 7:30 Jamaica time on CVM. So all of you online, check it out. 7:30 p.m. tomorrow night, CVM. We're going to live stream it here as well. We're going to try to live stream it here on this platform, and I will come on this platform afterwards. And we have some very, very deep Jamaican women who will be on the program tomorrow night to talk about some very important things that have happened in recent history in Jamaica as it relates to property rights and small business and so on. So take care, my friend, and thanks to all of you. Appreciate you all being on tonight, and thanks again for your donation. We need it, and we're going to community after community to defend the rights of our Jamaican people to their land. Remember, write it everywhere. #, no squatter, not there again. Take care. All the best.